EAGLES. Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to the JAKIB Pregame Show as we prepare for Week 12 in the NFL. The 8-2 Philadelphia Eagles take on the 5-5 LA Rams. And if you're anything like me, everybody, you've been singing the Carrie Underwood song all day. I've been waiting all day for a Sunday night. The Birds, winners of 6 straight, get ready to take on an NFC foe today in the LA Rams. Joined by Dan Sileo and John McMullen. How you boys doing on this Sunday evening here?
Waiting. Let's go.
Yeah, waiting.
Let's F and G, man. Let's go.
Don't get me wrong. I love Carrie Underwood, but that's the dumbest song ever because nobody's waiting all day. We've been watching football all day. We're not waiting for anything.
John, that's the best theme song in sports. Are you kidding me?
No, I'm saying the message behind it.
Yeah, I understand.
Hey, John, I hated night games. I wanted those things to get out of the way. I don't want to wait all day, sit around. Watching, I wanted to get in there, man. Get in there around 9 o'clock. You get in there, you get ready for a 1 o'clock Eastern game. You're there, you get in, you get out, hanging around all day long, man. It's a long process.
I don't know if I like the song or I like Carrie better. That's
the song is very catchy and Carrie's very catching. So you got a 1-2 punch, but the message behind it is dumb. Because nobody's been waiting all
Johnny
night.
Mac starting the show off, ripping Carrie Underwood song.
Not a rip of Carrie Underwood at all.
John, the old man, get off my lawn. Coming in hot here on the pregame show.
Right off the bat.
Speaking of it, though, J Mac, I'm coming right to you, man. Devontae Smith is the only guy out for the Philadelphia Eagles in this game. What's it look like on the Rams side? I think they're relatively healthy, and after starting the year pretty banged up, they're now winners of 4 of their last 5 games, kind of finding some rhythm there. What's it look like injury-wise for this game tonight, Johnny Mac?
Well, one of those things where guys are banged up, but guys are playing. So, that's all that matters. If you're out there, fans expect you to play at your normal, they don't get the fact that there might be some injuries. There's talk about Aaron Rodgers refusing scans because he doesn't want to be put on the injured list so people know what's going on with him. I always bring up Kirk Cousins on the quarterback show. That guy should have been in a hospital, never appeared on an injury report because he didn't want others to know. So it's that time of year where everybody's banged up. But other than Devontae Smith, it's as healthy as possible for the Philadelphia Eagles and the Rams have gotten better. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua are back. Their offensive line, some of theirs back. So it's basically full as much as it can be this time of year. And that should make it that's always good. That should make it a little bit more. Like you're watching San Francisco, this late game, they got nothing. I mean, no Brock Purdy, no Nick Bosa, no Trent Williams. They're a shell of themselves. So that's no fun. That's no fun when you see games like that. When you see the New York Giants play with Tommy DeVito, you say, hey, maybe Daniel Jones wasn't that bad after all, at least comparatively speaking. But yeah, injuries and ineffectiveness. And when you have to play these guys who, probably shouldn't be on the field for major snaps, it can affect you.
No doubt about it. Big Sales coming to you, man. Crazy day in the NFL so far. Commanders lose to the Cowboys. What the hell's going on with that? How you see what's on your mind, Sales, as we prepare for this game? Eagles, Rams, winners of 4 of their last 5. Kind of finding some rhythm now that they're healthy. Birds, winners of 6 straight. Started 2-2. They're now 8-2. What are some keys that you see, Sales, coming into this game tonight?
For me, it's the war of attrition is now here for all teams across the league. Every week it's going to be its own storyline because you just don't know who's going to be active and not active. I mean, the passing game for the Eagles this year has been sporadic and up and down. It's not been consistent. There's not been a rhythm at all to it in the passing game. And now you take Devontae Smith out of that equation, which is already kind of a shaky passing game. That just shows you, like John said, I mean, look at what this kid Allen's bringing in San Francisco. Nothing. I mean, good for the Giants. If you're an Eagle fan, they benched 2 quarterbacks in 3 days. Sounds like things are going well in New York for the Mara family. I mean, so again, right now we're in that part of the season. I mean, this is, you hear this line all the time. Records don't matter. To me, it's who's on the field and who's healthy right now. The Rams, early part of the season in the first quarter poll, they had everybody out, and they were up and down because of the lack of talent that they had on the field. This is the best that the Rams have looked when it comes to health. Now, as a young defensive football team with the Rams, if I win this toss today, and I'm the Rams, and I win the toss, I'm not putting my most inexperienced unit on the field. I'm putting my most experienced unit on the field versus the Eagles' less experienced group. That's their defense. I want to see how they're going to cover this in zone coverage with those two wide receivers. Hell, even the third guy is on pace for 800 yards. The kid Robinson, the back Williams is not a bad back. He's on pace for 1,300 yards himself. This is going to be quite the matchup between Vic Fangio and with Sean McVay. McVay's got one of the best resumes, and I would make this argument, John. Sean McVay's got the best resume for any coach in the NFC. And I'll say this, he's got 2 NFC championships. He's got a Super Bowl. He's 38 years old. This guy's won a ton of ball games, and he's almost a quarterback whisperer. Every guy that's gone through that building has won. It's going to be an interesting matchup tonight in Los Angeles at SoFi.
Yeah, no doubt. Rams second in the NFL in that motion. John, me and John love to talk about
motion. You're all for everything.
Of the time they're running motion. John, coming to you. Some keys to the game. How are you viewing this game from afar right now? We're about an hour and 10 minutes away from kickoff. What are the keys to the game, John, right now, in your opinion?
60% of the time, it works every time. What was Paul Rudd's character in Anchorman? But I digress. One of the great lines. Yeah, I mean, Sean McVay, Vic Fangio, I think is, the most interesting point because there's a big history between these guys. And basically one, as Sills pointed out, is the guy in this generation for offense. The other's the guy for this generation on defense. And nobody has more copycats. McVay, Shanahan are sort of lumped together, but nobody has more copycats than them on the offensive side. Nobody has more copycats than Vic Fangio on the defensive side. The interesting thing is I brought up numerous times on Burst 365, the McVays and the Shanahans and the LaFleurs of the world all hire defensive coordinators that run big scheme because they find it the most difficult to deal with. And if you go back to Sean McVay's first Super Bowl, lighten up the entire league, gets to Chicago. That was Vic's last year in Chicago. Completely shut him down, 15-6, I think the game was. Then the Rams went right back on track, scoring 30 a game, right into the Super Bowl, where Bill Belichick copied what Vic did and shut him down in the Super Bowl. So if history's any indication, and Vic, I brought this up to Vic this week. He didn't want to hear it because he doesn't want people bringing attention to that. But Vic Fangio has generally had Sean McVay's number. We'll see if that continues tonight. I think the Eagles have more talent than the Rams. The Rams are the team that's home, but they're probably going to be using silent counts more often than the Eagles. It's always a bad situation for them at home in SoFi Stadium. So, but it's a good test for the Eagles because it's a good team. I don't think it's a great team, but it's a good team. And I'll tell you one thing. The way offensive coaches talk about Vic Fangio in this league, that's the way the Eagles defenders talked about Matthew Stafford and add A.J. Brown on top of it. Boy, Matthew Stafford's got a lot of respect in this league. And,
rightfully so.
Yeah, rightfully so. Very good quarterback. Obviously aging a little bit, maybe not at the height of what he once was. But when you talk about the arm talent coupled with the veteran savviness of having seen it all, it's not going to be a Jaden Daniels game where you can confuse him. So, Eagles defense has to be disciplined tonight.
No doubt. Let's keep it on that Eagles defense. Sills, coming to you. I want to give you a stat, Sills, here. That's pretty crazy to hear, and I think will have a big impact on the game. The Rams right now are allowing pressure in 2.51 seconds on average. That's the fastest in the NFL. On the flip side, the Eagles are getting there in 2.56 seconds, good for fourth fastest in the NFL. I think it's a Jalen Carter day all day today on defense to get Matthew Stafford off his spot. You mentioned the zone coverage already. Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay will pick that apart, especially with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Defensively, Sills, what do you see for the Eagles today as the keys to slowing down this Rams offense?
You know, you bring that point up about a 32-year-old Sean McVay back in the time when he ended up getting beaten at Super Bowl 14-6 by Bill Belichick and Vic having his number. Well, one of the things that everyone knows about a coach like a McVay, like a Vic Fangio, is counter adjustments, man. I mean, these guys are not going to have any game plan that's going to be remotely close to anything that's going to look to even close to last week, because that's not how these men are. They are like chameleons. When you look at Fangio and a guy like Andy Reid or a guy like a McVay or Kyle Shanahan, they go with personnel matchups on what that particular weakness is. Bill Belichick told me this years ago at Jimmy Johnson's house on how he attacks offenses and how he attacks teams. He doesn't look at players. He looks at weaknesses, free agents, first-year guys, second-year guys. Those are the guys that you go after because, as John mentioned, and you guys kind of goofed on it a bit, and you're right, motion. One of the things that the Rams do excellent in this is that post-snap motion. That's what they do. They're excellent at getting it because you have a savant as a quarterback who understands what is the look, where the landmarks are, pre-snap read, all of that. So to your point about getting to the quarterback, you know the best way on the planet to stop a pass rush is the one thing Stafford's doing excellent this year. He's third and getting the ball out of his hands in the league. You know how you can stop a pass rush, Zander? You see quick throws. Get it out of there. And when you're playing 10 yards off the ball, now I'm expecting Vic to kind of change that up, because if you think you're going to play 10 years off the ball in high safety with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp in that open zone like that, he'll play pitch and catch all day long. The game will be determined in the red zone if they do that. I think Vic is probably going to bring them up a little more, try to bring some internal pressure because they've been good at that. But again, the fastest way to stop a pass rush, get the ball out of your hands. And that's one thing he's done excellent this year. He's the third best quarterback in the league at getting the ball out of his hand.
John, coming right to you. Same question there on the defense. Eagles defense tonight is, I think, a taller task than maybe they've had all year. Maybe not, but close with Matthew Stafford, these fully healthy receivers now, and Sean McVay. A lot on their plate. How do you expect them to handle it tonight, John?
Yeah, I do expect them to get the ball out quickly if they can. Certainly that's going to be a part of it. I do hesitate those numbers. And remember, the Rams were really banged up on the offensive line. They still are a little bit. Havenstein isn't going to play, but they've gotten some of their guys back that they weren't playing with early in the season, where things were really went poorly on the offensive line. So a little bit better. So just a word of caution, just looking at the whole picture because of how banged up they were for a pretty significant period. But yeah, overall, I think certainly the Eagles defensive front has the advantage. And I expect them to get the ball out pretty quickly. And we're going to see, Dan's right on Vic Fangio. I'm not as high on, Sean doesn't change up much. Like his scheme is his scheme. Vic is the one who kind of, he'll go off script and he'll turn into something completely different. And that's unique in the NFL because you see Sean Desai's out there with the Rams now. You saw, a lot of people run Vic's scheme, but they just run that scheme, what they think that scheme is. They don't have all these wrinkles that he rolls out from week to week. And that's sort of the difference. McVay's kind of his guy. He calls it the illusion of complexity. You're going to see a boatload of motion. So fans are probably going to be angry if some of it works. It's all to test the eye discipline of the defense. Jim Schwartz told me back in the day, hey, just do your job. It won't affect you whatsoever. But it's testing, especially with young players. Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, as good as they are, This will be a test for them because they have to be disciplined. And it's easier said than done when all that stuff is happening around you.
Absolutely. Let me just add to that here too. I mean, the one thing you always got to remember when you're looking at defensive coordinators like Vic Fangio, Dean Pease, who was the guy who with the Ravens in 2013 was the chameleon guy who really was the godfather of that center where you got everybody bunched up, John, and then all of a sudden 5 seconds.
Yeah, a little must rush.
Yep, you got to your coverages, and that's kind of what you're going to see, I think, a little bit now. Again, I think the advantage we'll see on the other side of the ball with Kellen Moore going against David or Chris Shula, excuse me. I don't know much about Chris Shula. I know he's a new coordinator in this world of the NFL, and that seems to be the trend, seeing younger coordinators and younger coaches. But again, you're going to see a lot of that because there's a lot of new faces over on that defensive side of the ball here for the Rams. I mean, I think they've drafted well. Les Snead, Kevin Demoff have done a sensational job. Fisk and Verse and Cameron Kitchens have been absolutely spectacular, and they've done a really nice job since pushing all their chips in a couple of years ago to win that Super Bowl. Look how young they are now, just in 3 years. I mean, and I think that's kind of the metamorphosis that they're going through, John, a little bit. Kind of what Kansas City went through a couple of years ago. You went from a veteran team, now you're a young team, and you're playing well. Right now, over the last, since the bye, they've been playing exceptionally well. As you mentioned, Zander, they're 4-1 since their bye. So this is going to be an interesting one, like I said tonight.
Yeah, and you just brought up two key guys, and I'll go to the Eagles' other side. Many are calling this the Rookie of the Year Bowl. And when I look at this game, I'm like, well, all four rookies that are in that conversation, and maybe you could go five if you want to add Kitchens, but Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, and then you have Braden Fisk and Jared Verse. Well, all four of those guys got their hands full tonight. The guys on the Rams defensive line got to go up against one of the best offensive lines in football. And then our two rookies, in Philly, have to go up against Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, two smart receivers that are very good possession guys, and they'll find the spots in that zone defense. So it should be a good matchup.
Yeah, but Sandra, you know what? I'd rather be the Eagle defenders going against them than having to go against Mulata and Lane.
Yeah, exactly.
You ain't getting by Mulata and Lane.
I think that's a win for Philly here.
Yeah, right.
Jared Verse, to me, he's been phenomenal. I didn't see it coming. He's been great. Kobe Turner's a really good player. Braden Fisk is a really good young player. But you know what? They all are undersized.
Yep.
And I don't like that style against the Eagles because they are going to get beat up. And I think they're going to beat them up early, and they're going to go straight ahead and say, all right, Braden Fisk and Kobe Turner, start dealing with Mekhi Becton, who blocks out the sun.
Yeah.
And he's John, there's an old saying in the NFL, big guys beat little guys up all the time.
Yeah, Chip used to say it. And Landon Dickerson, boy, I mean, I gave Zander the question, the top four, what would you put them in order? I'll give it to you, Dan. Offensive line, Saquon Barkley, Vic Fangio, Zach Bond. I go offensive line, number one. That is, when people talk about the strength of this team, everybody loves skill position guys. And obviously Saquon's in the MVP conference. That offensive line is so freaking dominant on a weekly basis. It's number one in my book.
So I'd like to hear you rank those four.
Absolutely, John. I called them skill set guys, that old line, because if you think about it, in the last 14 years, you've been in the top 5 in rushing almost every year with that type of style of play, from Howard Mudd all the way now through Jeff Stoutland. The group itself, like you said, I mean, that's the best group that you have in that building at NovaCare, the old line. It's not the wide receiver group. It's not the linebacker group. It's not the secondary. It's not the skilled guys. It's that old line. That is the best. And by the way, that might just be the best group in the league.
So rank those four. John, what do we do? Importance to the Eagles? Is that how we ranked them? Or
importance to the Eagles. I had offensive line first. I had Big second. I had Zach third, and I had Saquon fourth. And everybody, of course, thinks I hate Saquon.
If I was going to rank it, I would go offensive line. I'd go Vic Fangio. I would go A.J. Brown.
No, Saquon and Zach.
I go Barkley. I think. Look, the one thing that makes sure that it's a spread out game today. So you got to remember when you're talking Barkley, you're playing in the middle of the field usually with a guy like him. The guy that frightens a lot of people out there is A.J. Brown. The game is played today in space.
Oh, I still think A.J. is the best player on the Eagles, but they're just not playing that way right now because they don't have the consistency in the passing game. So they've gone in a different direction. If you look at A.J. Brown, in this, when people look at it and say, what's going on? Why isn't A.J., being A.J.? I'll pull up the numbers real quick. He's fourth in the league coming into this week in receiving yards per game.
Yeah.
And he's had the least amount of touches he's had in years since he was back in Tennessee and they had a run-heavy offense with Derrick Henry. Even under that, he's fourth in the NFL behind only Nico Collins, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson. Fourth. Leads the league in yards per reception. Number
18-7. 18-7, John. That's the number I look at.
Number one, I mean, the guy's as dominant as ever. They just don't take advantage of him. That's been one of my problems. Again, I'm nitpicking because they're 8-2. But they're not taking advantage of what they should be taking advantage in the passing game.
And the league. They're not taking advantage of the league. This is a passing league, and that's why they set the rules up the way it is for the passing league. And like you said,
and that only matters, by the way, that only matters when you start talking about Detroit down the road. It doesn't matter. You can beat other teams, but if you want to beat, at some point, you're going to have to win a game where you're throwing the football.
If you want to win a Super Bowl, John, you're going to have to do that. If you want to beat the Cowboys or you want to beat
not the Cowboys,
the Giants,
hey, you can beat them anyway.
Hey, you want to beat the Cowboys and the Giants, you don't need that. But if you want to beat Detroit, Kansas City, and Buffalo and places like that, you're going to have a balanced rhythm offense. And if you don't, you're not going to win it.
Yeah. Speaking of that passing game, you guys just brought it up. Well, no Devontae Smith tonight. How much of an impact does that have? And is it time? Is it officially time for Jahan Dotson to make an impact on this team? I've been waiting for it. It might be the perfect night for him to make an impact. John, how do you see it? And how much of an impact is the loss of Devontae Smith in this game?
Well, it's a great player. It's always a big impact. And no, I mean, they don't throw the ball that effectively with Devontae. So what makes people think they're going to throw it effectively without Devontae? They'll have their moments like they do. They always have their moments. There'll be explosive plays. There'll be big third down conversions, but the consistency is what I'm concerned with, which hasn't been there the entire season, basically. Hoping it would clear itself up when AJ came back into the lineup. Really hasn't. Now he's been effective, as I said, but not much else from a consistency standpoint. But again, I'm sure you'll have a big plays to Dallas Goedert, big plays. You might even have a 37-yard juggling catch from Jahan Dotson. But if you're talking about volume, no, probably not. Why would you expect volume when Devontae can't get volume?
It's true. Big Sales. How much of an impact in your eyes is the loss of Devontae Smith for today's game?
I echo what John says, but I'll add this. Everyone's keeps bringing up, well, he's better against the blitz, and he's worse in taking sacks this year. He's fifth in taking sacks in the league. So you're telling me he's getting better at the blitz, but yet he's taking more sacks? He's got 28 right now. Last year he had 36. I mean, so if somebody's telling me that he's playing well and reading the blitzes, I disagree with that because he's taking more sacks this year right now. And
the numbers are better. So people look at the raw numbers, like I said, with the Rams in the quick passing game. Yeah, I mean, they're skewed by – depending on the week and what happens. Obviously, you might run up some impressive numbers in some blowout games, and that affects the overall efficiency from play to play. But the offensive, the passing game hadn't been there. Is anybody happy with the passing game?
Neither of you two sound very excited Jahan Dotson's greatness tonight.
No,
What do people expect? Like I said,
I asked Zander this on my show, and I asked everyone last week on the show. How about this? Do you think that Kellen Moore has improved the passing game?
no.
I don't either at all. And by the way, I didn't need him to improve the run game. Howie improved it by signing Barkley. That's a Howie thing, not a Kellen Moore thing.
Yeah, I mean the Eagles have been able to run the football since 2-5 start.
Yes.
Yeah, I love Saquon, but that's not exclusive to Saquon Barkley.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
You've had 3 Pro Bowlers in a row. You had Miles Sanders, and you had DeAndre
Swift. And now Barkley's better than them, so they've gotten even better. But they've always been able to run the football. So, yeah, I mean, they just got a more talented back, so they're even better. But the passing game has taken a step back. Let's be honest.
So you guys aren't thinking that this is a night where that passing game could get going? I mean, let me set the over-under on Jahan Dotson yards.
What are you upset about Jahan?
I'll give him a measly 55. Will Jahan Dotson get 55 yards tonight?
Barkley's more likely to get those yards than Jahan Dotson. Okay.
What is Philadelphia's nature with the third receiver? Oh, you got to get Quez Washington. You got to get Julio Jones involved. You got to get Olamide Zaccheaus involved. You got to get Jahan Dotson involved. You got to get this guy involved. Oh, Johnny Wilson. I remember the Johnny Wilson week.
What
is Sideshow Bob going to get? Who cares?
Well, John, if it doesn't matter so much, maybe they shouldn't have sent a 3rd rounder for the guy, for crying out loud.
Well, the one part of it where Jahan has been better than Quez and everybody else is the rare time when they throw him the ball, he tends to catch it. So
he tends to catch it. Okay,
he's been solid catching the football. So
hey, John, you're forgetting the greatness of Britton Covey, though, man. He's back.
Yeah, Britton's back. Britton's back.
Britton returns. We got a super chat on Britton. Is Covey playing? Jason A-Team says Johnny Mac. I want to see him play slot.
No, well, Devontae's not playing, so there's a chance. He's certainly better than Anaya Smith. Yeah, he's active. He's ready to go, so he should be playing. The interesting part is punt return to me, because Cooper's been so good at it, and Britton's so good at it. But he's not quite as explosive. So I know I know if it's up to Vic Fangio,
yes,
Britton will be doing it, but it's not up to Vic Fangio.
That's right. That's what, if I'm Vic Fangio, I'd be like, hey, Britton, go ahead. But it's not, like you said.
All right. So neither of you two are expecting the offensive passing game to be any bigger of a factor than it's been so far.
Andrew, that's a road grading offense, man.
I know it is, but we've talked about it on both shows.
You're a fist fighter, dude. You don't sit back and throw jabs. You throw haymakers like the Eagles do.
Yeah, but still, we talk about it all the time. At one point, eventually, this passing offense is going to have to improve.
And I don't think that can do it right now. I think the guy struggles right now with doing the simplest reads. I think he has an issue with reading progressions still, in my opinion. Okay. And I think, by the way, I happen to think also the added responsibility of setting protection has absolutely been something that he's got more on his plate. He's setting protections. He doesn't want to turn the foot. I'll tell you what, him taking a sack versus throwing it up for grabs. If you're the Eagles with that run game, I'd rather have him take the sack than throw the ball up in high percentage play like that. Because I'll tell you this, here's the problem today in this game. Don't let the Rams get a 14-point lead on you, because then you're going to have to, Zander, do what you just said.
Oh, well, yeah.
Then it's going to be Jahan Dotson
back into a game.
Well, honestly, I'd like to see them behind by 2 scores to see what they can do in the passing game. And I think they would be effective. But obviously you don't want to get down by 2 scores. I think in the long run, it may actually help them gain some confidence, because I think they will be capable of coming back in that type of situation. But the way they're playing right now, they've limited themselves. I talked about, Sean McVay, where the one thing Dan and I have disagreed on, we usually disagree on more, but the only thing today is Yeah, I don't think McVay's that guy. I don't think he changes up much at all. He runs what he runs. And that's what the Eagles have become. And I don't like that. I like what Vic does. Vic is like, all right, they don't do this well. I'm going to do this. As Dan was talking about with certain coaches in the past who look at weaknesses and tailor the game plan for specific opponents. Right now, the Eagles have become
predictable.
Yeah, I mean,
looking at passing, John, they're as predictable right now in that passing game as they were a year ago. And the only difference is you've got a spectacular player in Barkley right now who's having a great year, and you've got that guy on the perimeter out there in AJ who frightens every single defensive coordinator, dude. I mean, I don't fear Hurts. I fear AJ and Barkley right now. And the thing, if I'm the Eagles, it's like what John said last week or 2 weeks ago. The one thing that they've done, they've looked at who they are. See, the one thing in self-reflection since that bye week, John's dead on. They went like this: low percentage passes. Let's not have high percentage turnover opportunities. Let's run 42, 38 times, somewhere in that mix to run the ball here. And guess what? If somebody can't stop my run game, I'm going to run the ball. It's like having one hand tied behind my back and you're punching me in the face. There's nothing you can do about it. What's the worst thing you can do when you're a team that's limited on defense? Stop the clock. Give possessions back on 3 and outs. 3 and outs are what keep teams in games that are lesser than you. When you have a run game, you eliminate all that because you're constantly in 3rd and short.
And it's not only Barkley, it is Barkley, but it's also the defense, because the defense, like last week against Washington, they couldn't run the ball for 3 quarters. They were very ineffective. But the defense kept it to a 10-6 game so they could stick with it. Whereas, even if it's 17-6, they're probably going to have to go to the air a little bit more. So the defense is part of it as well. And hey, as long as you're playing this way, as long as you have the defense not giving up anything, they've been giving up 300 yards since the Tampa Bay game before the bye. They're number 1 defense in the NFL, number 2 passing defense, yada, yada. As long as they're playing like that, and you're not behind by 2 scores, you can play the way the Eagles are playing.
John,
it's funny because they're not built like that. But when you look at AJ and Devontae and Dallas, they got great pass catchers. But
they didn't build like that on purpose.
They're the number 1 ranked running offense in the NFL, and they're the number 1 ranked defense in the NFL. Isn't that old school football? Isn't that what used to win you games in the NFL? You can run the ball and you got a good defense. That's what we have in John.
The last time they took an offense like this on with 2 premium wide receivers, the Bucks blew them off the field. They had Chris Godwin. They did blow him off the field.
I know they did, but this is a different team. This team is playing a way different.
Well, I think Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford. Stafford's a better quarterback.
No, I'm saying the Eagles are a different team today than they were in that Week 4 matchup versus the Bucks. You're not wrong, but
no, and they shut down. They shut down. Now Cincinnati didn't have T. Higgins, so they didn't get the double barrel, but they shut down Cincinnati pretty well.
Yep.
Gave them up 280 yards, did a great job against Jamar Chase. Now, again, you can do more things against Jamar Chase because T. Higgins wasn't out there. But, hey, they took advantage of the situation as they should. Look, I can't be more impressed with this defense. Yeah. But, again, I always talk, this, Zander, I always talk about margin of error. Yeah. You're decreasing your margin of error. That's it. You can win 100 different ways. You can win by blocking a field goal like Green Bay did last week.
Or like whatever happened in that Cowboys Commanders game today. That was one of the craziest.
You could win a game
finishes I've ever seen.
A long snapper has a bad snap on an extra point like that game. But are you going to count on that? Do you like those odds?
No.
Right.
It's about increasing your margin of error. And there is no reason that this team shouldn't be able to have one of the top passing offenses in the NFL. And they're 23rd or whatever they are.
Look at the personnel they have. I mean, it's insane. And like you said, John, I mean,
if they weren't winning football games, this would be such a big story in Philadelphia.
Absolutely. By the way, if with the amount of offense you have, this is Super Bowl or bust here, man, because you're going on 3 years with this stuff now. I mean, you've got to cross the finish line with this stuff here, man. I mean, this is all about the journey getting to the postseason. I mean, 3 years and not cashing it in. I don't know.
It's not even getting to the postseason anymore. The Eagles have a 3-game lead in the loss column now in the NFC East. Yeah. They're going to win the NFC East. This is about beating Detroit.
Home field.
That's it. And guess what? It looks really good what happened in the NFC East for the Eagles in the NFC East, but Detroit won as usual, like a freaking, machine. And they're 10-1, and Minnesota hung on, and they're 9-2, and Green Bay won because San Francisco isn't playing anybody, and they're 8-3. You got to keep winning. You got to keep winning if you want to get that number 1 seed. They're going to win the NFC East. The NFC East is over.
Yeah.
John, they could be a 3 seed if Minnesota continues to win. I mean,
now somebody's not going to be, because remember, Detroit, if Minnesota.
Oh, that's right. They're a wild card. They'd be a wild card net north. That's right.
They're both going to be in the playoffs.
You're right.
One is going to be knocked down because they're going to be a wild card. So.
That's right.
But
they'd be a 6.
So with and it's probably going to be Detroit, although David Montgomery got hurt today. I don't know how bad that is, but I mean, they're the best team in football. And that's who I'm looking at.
Man. All right. So the point of this, in my opinion, is eventually this offensive passing game is going to have to get going. I think tonight's a good matchup for that. I don't know. I mean, I know you're missing Devontae Smith, but who's covering A.J. Brown today? These 2 cornerbacks are nowhere near big enough or physical enough to hang with him in Williams and Witherspoon. I think
it's not about AJ, dude. It's about Hurts.
Yeah, well, eventually it's got to get going. Is your take that it's just never going to get going?
It hasn't. Even with them in there, like John said, it hasn't. I mean,
doom and gloom, Sileo. We're at 8-2, Sills.
Until we see it, dude. This is a see it game. This is a prove it to me league. This isn't a wishful league. They're not graded on a bell curve here. You're either doing or you're not doing it, and they haven't done it in rhythm this year. Look, do I want them to go here and throw the sure sounds great on a chalkboard, but until you look at trends for the last 3 weeks, that's what most coaches look at, and then they look at the totality of the season. It has not been in rhythm since Green Bay at all.
John,
tonight it's going to. That's wishful thinking.
It's fair. John, is this tonight a night the passing game could get going? Like I said, I know you're missing Devontae, but I think A.J. Brown's a great matchup in tonight's game, and they would be wide.
A.J. is always a great matchup. That's not the issue. A.J. is always a great matchup. I know that from talking to the coaches. They don't think anybody can match up with A.J. Brown. I mean that literally. It's always a great matchup. But they're not playing like that. So is he capable of going off for 150? He's always capable of going off for 150, but they're not playing like that. So until they do, and maybe they're forced to do it, or maybe they wake up one day and say, hey, we should take advantage of this crappy secondary. Until they do it, like Sil said, I mean, it's hard to imagine them doing it without Devontae Smith. When they don't do it with Devontae Smith, that's kind of where I'm at.
Fair. Let's see what happens.
Zander, they're the worst first quarter offense scoring wise in football. I mean, you got to get it going here eventually here, and they haven't all year. I mean,
and even most of Barkley's numbers are coming in that second half. It's a second half running team too.
John, they're better almost at times off script.
They're always better off script. You say that all the time, Sills, and you're spot on. Jalen's an off script player.
And he's really great.
He's a lot of people are. Caleb Williams he had a big game.
Josh Allen.
All of it's off script. All of it. Like when he's in rhythm of the offense, it's bad. Off script, he's making plays like a magician. There's a lot of guys like that, but we've seen Jalen be better at the traditional offense than he has been this year.
Some extra motivation.
That's fair to say.
We're going to get to our commercial break. Good stuff there, John and Dan. Some extra motivation for the Rams tonight is the Cardinals just lost to the Seahawks. So now the Seahawks are 6-5. The Cardinals are 6-5, and the Rams are 5-5. A win tonight for LA, and it's a 3-way tie in the West at the top, and we will see what happens there. Before we get to our break, we'll take a break, and then we'll come back and we'll do predictions, and we'll get our final thoughts on the game. Just about 40 minutes away from kickoff right now. Got a lot of people, guys, in the chat who are at the game. My man, Mad Bird, one of our great viewers here, he's at the game. I saw him being active on Twitter today. Philly takeover in LA, he says. Go Birds. Mad Bird, thanks for checking in. Gabe Santos checks in. At the game now, 70% Eagles fans.
That's Xander. It's the worst home field advantage in the history of pro football. I've never seen the Chargers and Rams get blown out of their own building. The Rams consistently have to go to silent count because they're getting run out of their own building.
Yeah, couple that with one of the best traveling fan bases in the NFL and Philly fans, and it's a good comment, a good combo there. Brian Pumper checks in. Sean Desai revenge game. Jalen Hurts got to prove me wrong. I don't believe he can win without a stacked deck. No, Devontae's going to hurt. Brian's not sold on this offense.
I don't think Sean's going to matter.
I saw some pictures of him out there chatting it up with some Eagles players.
Yeah, Nolan Smith went out and said hello. Yeah, Sean's a really nice guy. I think
well respected too, John. Well respected in the league.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Eagles hired him for a reason, but it's one of those things where, like I always go back to when it's interesting to me. Sean Desai, when he was here, he moved James Bradbury in the slot, and we as reporters, I had to look in the mirror. We're like, what are you doing, dude? This makes no sense whatsoever. And then you fast forward a year, and Vic Fangio's rolling Quinyon Mitchell into the slot through training camp. And I'm like, I questioned it. Zander can validate me there.
Yes, you did.
And I'm everybody else. Oh, it's Vic. Let Vic do what Vic. I mean, he gets like this deference, where Sean Desai's getting ripped every single moment.
When you're a first-year guy, John, everyone's gonna go, "What are you doing?" When you're a 40-year guy, people are gonna go, "Okay, coach."
Yeah, exactly.
No doubt. Let's get to our commercial break. Yeah. Let's get to our break here. I want to get to our break real quick before I do that. Matthew Mazzoni's looking for a shout out for his dad. Matt Mazzoni Sr. is retiring. Mr. Mazzoni, congrats on retirement. Hopefully that means you'll spend a lot more time watching JAKIB Sports on your free time. Thank you for checking in, Matt. Appreciate that. Thanks everybody for being here. Make sure you guys hit that like button. We got the pregame show. We'll have the halftime show at halftime with Johnny Mack and myself, and then we'll be live tonight.
I may have to retire before kickoff if they don't get to this damn game.
I know. I'm still singing Carrie Underwood as we sit here.
Yeah, this is cutting into my Corona time too. Let's go.
Yeah, no doubt. Big Sills, good stuff there. And we'll do the post-game show tonight as well. So I'll be talking with you guys, anybody that stays up late for the post-game show. I'll do that, and then we'll be right back live tomorrow morning on Birds 365. So thanks, everybody. Hit that like button. We'll be right back in 3 minutes on the JAKIB Pregame Show.
Ignite your nights with free live entertainment daily, only at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia's Center Bar. 7 days a week, enjoy some of the region's top party bands, performers, and DJs as they take the stage in the heart of the casino action. Great cocktails, live music, and lively moments. It's all happening at Center Bar at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia. Visit livecasinophilly.com for more details and the complete list of upcoming events. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong as the #1 health insurer in the region. No IBX is always looking out for you.
We noticed that there was mold creeping into our basement about a year and a half ago, and wanted to make sure that we were getting rid of the problem permanently. We actually reached out to several different contractors to get it resolved, and actually 2 of them recommended DryTech to us as a long-term solution. Other than the noise factor, we wouldn't even know that there was work being done on the basement level. It's really been a clean process for us.
Score and save this football season on your car insurance. Before the next game, save up to 40% on your auto insurance policy. That's right, 40% savings. Call an audible this season and contact the Del Val Insurance Group. They're an advocate for you, not an insurance company. That means they'll get you the right coverage and save you up to 40%. Call managing partners Fran or Jim of Del Val Insurance, 215-354-0122, or score and save at dvigi.com. dvigi.com.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to the JAKIB Pregame Show here, getting ready for Sunday Night Football. Eagles are 8-2, winners of 6 straight. Started 2-2, and now they're 8-2, and taking on the LA Rams tonight at 5-5. For those who don't know, you might look at the Rams and say, "Oh, 5-5, they're okay." They started 1-4. And now they're 5-5, winning 4 of their last 5 games since their Week 6 bye week. So both these teams red hot after the bye week.
Hey, Zander, off topic a little bit here, real quick before we get to the predictions of the game. John, watching that Cowboy game today, J.K. Dobbins, Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, and Derrick Henry all could have been Cowboys to help out that rushing attack. Maybe the greatest free agency class of running backs in history, and they don't sign one of those guys.
Cowboys weren't ready for them anyway.
I mean,
no, that probably not.
Career
probably
years.
Not. Probably not. I throw Aaron Jones in there as well because Aaron Jones started their demise, and
he's been great too in Minnesota.
That's the difference on the Minnesota offense because they always had the receivers. Now they got the running game back. And plus he's a great receiver as well. So but I think Zander's right. The Cowboys weren't ready for it, because
are the Cowboys ever ready?
Yeah. I mean, look, Cowboys won 12 games 3 straight years. They were a good football team. This year, they're not a good football team. And that's before, obviously not now with Cooper Rush, but that's before even Dak Prescott got hurt. They were not a good football team. Part of it was injuries, no doubt about it, as we talked about with the attrition. They're already better with Micah Parsons back. They got Deron Bland back. They're more competitive. So that helps a little bit. Washington, though, boy, what a disappointment. It's almost like, again, when Eagles fans got excited about Quinyon locking down Terry McLaurin, who made a big play at the end of the game today, they didn't throw him the football. It's like, and they didn't throw the football again today until the fourth quarter. Desperation. It's like, what are you doing? Pull the trigger. Then they started scoring some points, but it was too little, too late.
Dallas started playing zone prevent and stuff, and that's what called them and allowed them to get back.
Well, they were able to tie it and miss the extra point because of a bad snap. But but the point is, they were awful offensively for the entire game because they were playing the same way they were playing the Eagles.
56 minutes, John. That offense was in trouble.
Yeah,
Washington.
That was a crazy ending, and the fact that Terry McLaurin had that crazy touchdown, it was like 85 yards, and then it didn't matter because the kicker couldn't.
That thing reminded me of the miracle.
I don't blame the kicker. That was a shitty snap.
It was a shitty snap and a shitty hole, but you still got to put it through the upright.
Andrew, that reminded me of the miraculous thing in Minnesota a couple years back, where that guy catches that pass down the side. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, that was Stephon Diggs.
Yep, that was Stephon Diggs. Crazy stuff there. Got about 10 minutes left on the pregame show here, guys. We gave our predictions out on Friday. John, I'm going to start with you here. Your keys of the game here, as you see it, both offensively and defensively, and then close it out with your prediction. The prediction you gave on – actually, I'll let you do it. I don't know if you've changed it.
I forget what I did. I don't know if I changed it. It's pretty close, but I forget what I did.
You went 26-17.
I think I put 27-17. So same score eventually. But, yeah, I expect the Eagles to win. Defensively, I think, tackling is the key because you are going to get some of those quick throws. You have to rally up and tackle Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. Make sure there's not a ton of yards after catch. That's been a strength of the Eagles since the bye week, tackling. I think San Francisco missed 15 tackles in the first half tonight. 15 tackles in one half of football. I saw that on the broadcast.
The NFL was unbelievable.
Yeah, the Eagles have gotten a lot better at tackling since the bye week, and they've been working at it. So
and John, tackling in space too, they've gotten better.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, from that perspective, offensively, I think it's going to be more up take advantage. What I said, they look, on paper, everybody says, well, Kobe Turner's a pretty good player. Brandon Fisk is a pretty good player. Jared Verse is a pretty good player. And you're right, they are, but they don't match up against this team. And the old adage is styles make bites. They can look like Superman against the average offensive line. With these guys leaning on them, I don't think they're going to look very good.
John, final prediction for the game?
27-17 Eagles.
I like it. Big Sills, coming to you, man. Your keys offensively, defensively, and where you're leaning on your prediction for the game.
I'm going to flip the script on what John just said here a little bit. If Verse and Fisk and those guys are going against the offensive line of the Eagles, and that's the experience part of it, no question, the advantage is there. Well, I'm going to flip it on the other side and go, I want to see these young rookie guys lining up versus Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua and Matthew Stafford. I want to see it. You've played against a lot of bum quarterbacks. Now you're going to be playing against a quarterback. And I agree with John. The Cincinnati game is a takeaway game on what they did in the secondary. But what was the one key factor in that Cincinnati game? There's two, really. They didn't have a running attack, and they did not have the other guy on the other side of the ball in T. Higgins. I want to see how they're going to scheme up and try to I want to see how they're going to try to man up on these guys so that they can press these guys and make them not get into a pitch and catch game. If they can run the ball, my opinion, if they can run the ball here with Robinson and create play action, it's going to be interesting again on that secondary and also in the front.
I will say, Kyron Williams is one of the more underrated running backs in the NFL. So it's a much, to Sills' point, much bigger hurdle than Cincinnati's running game. Really good player. So I agree with that. But yeah, man, Zach Bond's been Superman.
He has. By the way, John, I watched Fred Warner play today. I don't see Fred Warner outplaying him right now. I just don't.
Not today.
It. I mean, but I haven't really seen it all year long.
Well, all year he's been good.
He's outplayed him, but I'm going 28-24 Rams. I think the Rams at home. I'm going to take the Rams at home.
At home, the game's in Philly. You just don't know it.
Philly West, okay, but I'm taking Stafford. I'm taking Stafford versus the youngsters. You know what? This is a takeaway game, big time, because that's a great offensive-minded coach. It's a great quarterback. 3 years removed from winning the Super Bowl. That's a good-looking offensive group. It's the best test that they had all year long, which will be in this game tonight. I want to see it on the road. By the way, one of the greatest stats I heard, John, of all time was that The Eagles now under Nick Sirianni have the most wins of any team in the league since 21 on the road is insanity.
Yep.
That's insane.
Yeah, they won a lot of football games. A lot of Eagles fans don't realize that.
That's an insane thing that when you hear that, that's not about 1 year or a stretch of games. That's years. That's insane. So still, I think this is going to be an interesting test. I think the Rams are better and healthier. I think they're not a 5-5 team. I think that's one of the better teams in the NFC, and we'll see how that plays out tonight.
By the way, also to your point, Eagles have won 3 consecutive away games by 20-plus points for the 3rd time in franchise history.
Crazy.
Got to go back to 1948 and 1949.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, Nick's resume is pretty impressive, but I don't want to go down that one.
No, it is. No doubt. The way I see the game tonight is I think the Eagles are the more physical football team, and I think that's going to win out in the end. They should be able to run on this team. I think Jalen Hurts gets it going a little bit in the passing game. I'm predicting an A.J. Brown day today, whatever that looks like. 100
every day is A.J. day.
Well, it hasn't been this year, John, so we'll see.
Sure it is. I just gave you the numbers. They don't even throw it to him. He's 4th in the NFL in yards per game for receivers.
I'm jaded, John. Hey, John, I'm jaded. My boy Cameron Kitchens from University of Miami, 2-time NFC Player of the Week, 2 of the last 3 years. I don't know, man. I let's see how he plays against him. It's going to be. I texted him. I told him, I go, get ready, because one arm's not going to get AJ on the ground.
All right, I think the Birds win this game tonight. I have them winning 30-24. I think they'll prevail in the end, and they'll put up some fourth quarter points as they have all year, and they will get the win. Now, we got a couple minutes left, so John picks the Birds. I pick the Birds. Big Sills picks the Rams. Sills, I did notice you upped your Eagle number a little bit. You had it 28-21 on Friday. You went 28-24 today. I like it. I want to give you guys an over-under on the way out, all right, because both of you guys were doom and gloom today about the passing game. Both of you. It was like it was both of you.
Reality.
Dirty Air checks in. 100 yards for AJ and Saquon, 250 for Jalen. I'm putting the over-under right there, Dirty Air, on Jalen Hurts today, passing yards. John, I'm starting with you.
I'm going to go all
50 yards.
I'm going to go 300 for Jalen. 150.
You said Jahan Dotson wasn't going to have a good game. Who's getting these yards?
I'm being facetious.
He ain't doing that, man. Are you crazy? John McMullen ain't going down there. Even I got that, and I'm going
to go 400 for Jalen, 175 for AJ, 150 for Saquon. No, come on. Let's be real.
John, let me do it. John, I'm going to do 153 passing and 65 yards rushing for Jalen Hurts, because that's what he does.
153.
I'm going to go.
What he does.
John, are you going over or under 250?
250 total or 250?
No, passing yards.
No, I'm going under 250 passing yards.
250 passing.
AJ's averaging 88.3 yards, so I'm going to go 95 for AJ.
Jesus.
And Saquon's averaging 113.7 on the ground rushing. I'm going to go 125.
Good.
Hey, nice. Saquon Barkley now? I got Saquon over 135 yards.
All right, well, that's my next over-under to close it out. Was going to be I like doing the Saquon because we have the jersey giveaway.
Yeah, I do Saquon over 135.
All right, well, that means a jersey. So good. The people of JAKIB Nation will be our what? Our 6th or 7th jersey will be given away. John, you going over or under Saquon 125 total yards catching and
I got him at 125 rushing, so I got to go over.
Yeah.
So unfortunately for you, he's going to go over. Jahan Dotson, I have at 176.
I got 2 catches minus 10.
Oh God. What,
now,
bubble screens that go -5 each?
He'll catch both of his targets for
they'll be threatening John. There'll be
yards.
Balls at the end of game. Come on, man. Jahan Dotson. Wait, what's next? Johnny Wilson, Zander?
What's the over? I mean, if I put the over under at 55 yards
John
on
was talking to you in the preseason, you go, hey, maybe Johnny Wilson could be like a regular. Like, if that guy gets 20 catches this year, it'll be a great year.
Well, they sent a third rounder for Dotson, so he's not in the Johnny Wilson category. I think he gets going tonight. I'm predicting the over on 55 yards for Jahan.
Whoa.
Tonight.
Whoa. 55. That matches yearly total so far. Good.
Whoa.
You guys going over? Or you guys going under?
I'm going under 20 yards.
No, I'm going over 20, but I'm going under 55. We'll catch 3-4 passes.
Holy
probably.
cow. Hey, Zander, man, you got those green glasses on today, brother.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm done listening to you two stiffs. I got Carrie Underwood coming up. I've been singing the song all day. I've been waiting all day for a Sunday night.
All you need
is Carrie, I have. And I'm getting out of here so that I can watch it. It's one of my favorite parts of Sunday Night Football. Is it not for you guys? I love that song.
Carrie Underwood.
All you need is
give me
one
Monday Night's theme. I love Monday Night's theme. The Carrie Underwood thing.
No, I
could care less.
Oh, you kidding me? They pay her $1 million a week for that thing.
Great.
It's the best theme song in sports.
Great. Okay.
Maybe it's just Carrie Underwood.
I'm with you. I like the theme song, Sam.
That's the greatest one there, man.
55 per Jahan, though, is a little bit steep. All
right, that's going to do it on the pregame show. We got 2 predictions for the Eagles.
All you need is one big play, though. Bang.
Yeah.
You're there.
All right, let's see what happens in the game. We're about 20 minutes from kickoff. Everybody, we appreciate you guys for being here. Hit that like button on your way out. Good stuff, John. Good stuff, Big Sills. Good stuff, Big Z. Talking to myself here. I appreciate all of you guys. We'll see you at the halftime show, and we'll be on for the postgame show as well. Should do it late night tonight. So looking forward to that after hopefully the Birds.
Hey, John, run the ball a lot tonight. Get this thing all run the ball.
Throw the ball, but I don't think they're doing it. So.
You'd think these guys were coal miners the way they speak about working
late into
a Sunday night.
Well, this is what Philadelphia wants. I mean, embrace it. Defense, run the ball. Take the points. Take the points.
We'll be live at halftime. Yes, RT3. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Good stuff, guys. We'll talk to you on John on the halftime show and Big Sills and John on the postgame show. Looking forward to doing that. Thanks, everybody, for being here, and we will catch you guys halftime and after the game. Thanks, everybody.
Ignite your nights with free live entertainment daily, only at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia's Center Bar. 7 days a week, enjoy some of the region's top party bands, performers, and DJs as they take the stage in the heart of the casino action. Great cocktails, live music, and lively moments. It's all happening at Center Bar at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia. Visit livecasinophilly.com for more details and the complete list of upcoming events. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong as the #1 health insurer in the region. No IBX is always looking out for you.
We noticed that there was mold creeping into our basement about a year and a half ago, and wanted to make sure that we were getting rid of the problem permanently. We actually reached out to several different contractors to get it resolved, and actually 2 of them recommended DryTech to us as a long-term solution. Other than the noise factor, we wouldn't even know that there was work being done on the basement level. It's really been a clean process for us.
Score and save this football season on your car insurance. Before the next game, save up to 40% on your auto insurance policy. That's right, 40% savings. Call an audible this season and contact the Del Val Insurance Group. They're an advocate for you, not an insurance company. That means they'll get you the right coverage and save you up to 40%. Call managing partners Fran or Jim of Del Val Insurance, 215-354-0122, or score and save at dvigi.com. dvigi.com.
EAGLES. Eagles.